Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another video, and today I want to tackle an argument and a debate point that I've heard a lot recently from outsiders on podcasts or from rival fans, sort of in a demeaning and a dismissive way to Lampard's youth revolution this season at Chelsea. Now the club have garnered a lot of praise this year, but as ever, there is usually a backlash and there are usually people with dissenting opinions, which is fair enough. But I think the idea and the concept, as you can see by the title, that I've heard that Chelsea were forced to play youngsters this season, I think is a really simplistic take. I really do. And I'm going to explain why. Because I think the facts just don't lay that out really. I could go back to February of this year. Chelsea fans have known that the transfer ban was coming for a long time, and that opportunity of younger players getting a chance could have presented itself. There was that sort of feeling, and mostly it was a hope, because under Maurizio Sarri, the only two players from at least the academy that came up were Ruben Loftus-CHEEK and Callum Hudson-ODOI, and both of them basically had to wait till March to get their starts in a team. And then, of course, a lot happened. Maurizio Sarri left, then Frank Lampard arrived, and things seemed to change very quickly. Now, the reason I think it's a simplistic take, number one, Frank Lampard has continued to state throughout the start of this season, the young players are in there because of form, because of merit, because of their hard work and performances, not because he has nothing else to choose from. That really is simplistic and just doesn't lay out with the facts. You'll hear people say that Chelsea are forced, but then also make the claim that Chelsea have spent a lot, have title winners, have experienced quality players. You can't make those two arguments at the same time, really, can you? If Chelsea had nothing else to choose from, then I could understand. But Lampard has made it his priority. And just in a sense, to be able to create a path, as he described in his first interview, from the academy to the first team. And that's what he's been able to provide this season. I think prime example for me of a number of examples where I can prove to you that Lampard wasn't forced and it was his choice to put faith in younger players. Firstly, Tammy Abraham. Let's look at Tammy Abraham, because at the start of pre-season, it really looked like a three-way shootout between Tammy Abraham, Olivier Giroud and Michy Batshuayi of who was going to take number one spot. You can watch videos on this channel of my reviews during pre-season where 7 days before going to Old Trafford, I had no clue who would be starting up top. Maybe it was Tammy, it could have been Michy, it could have been Giroud, but that was Lampard's choice. Now, Tammy started at Old Trafford and had a difficult start to the season. He hit the post unluckily at Old Trafford in a difficult 4-0 defeat. And then, of course, he missed the deciding penalty in Istanbul against Liverpool in the Super Cup. Now, of course, that subjected him to a lot of vile racist abuse. But I think just in terms of linking it to another comparison was another young striker who missed a penalty in the Super Cup for Chelsea a few years back, Romelu Lukaku. Now, at the time, Jose Mourinho was manager, and Romelu Lukaku never played for Chelsea again. He was sent out on loan to Everton, never came back. Jose didn't fancy him. And Lampard could have done the same. He could have opted, because of a young player in a difficult moment, could have opted for a safer option in Olivier Giroud, put Tammy on the bench, go for a player who's a World Cup winner, who starts for France, who scored a crucial goal for us in the Europa League final. But no, he backed Tammy and then gave him the opportunity again to go and provide for Chelsea against Norwich. And that's exactly what Tammy Abraham did. And he hasn't looked back since. He's just recently hit 10 Premier League goals for Chelsea. And that is paying dividends for Frank Lampard for putting faith in a younger player. I don't think a manager like Jose Mourinho would have done the same. His comments in the Sky studio after the opening game of the season to Manchester United said as much, basically saying that he would have gone for Olivier Giroud. He would have gone for a short-term option over a long-term option. And Frank Lampard made it a priority of his to say that age isn't a defining factor, where I think other managers of Chelsea in previous years would have done. What about Fikayo Tomori? Now, Fikayo Tomori was basically fifth choice as defender during pre-season. David Luiz, Andreas Christensen, Kurt Zuma, especially when Antonio Rudiger came back, all looked to be ahead of Tomori. Tomori was linked on loan to several places and looked like he might have gone on loan. But then David Luiz kicked up a fuss and left. Now, other managers could have bowed to Luiz's pressure for first-team football. But Lampard didn't want to do that. Lampard wanted to make a statement, an example, and say, no player is guaranteed minutes in my team. And Luiz left, and then suddenly Tomori was up in the pecking order. Now, just because he was up in the pecking order didn't mean he started the season. Zuma and Christensen started the season. It was only actually at home to Sheffield United where Tomori would get his first start, where despite Chelsea losing a 2-goal lead, Tomori did impress, and then he started again against Wolves, scoring one of the goals of the season. And really, like Tammy Abraham, Tomori hasn't looked back since. He's been a feature, one of the top 2 defenders in Chelsea's team, a regular starter in Lampard's 11. And you look, he's gone from strength to strength. He's played against the likes of Mohamed Salah and done really well. He went away to Amsterdam for Chelsea's landmark win this season and performed exceptionally well with Kurt Zouma. Both of those two have worked really well together and are creating a relationship now and are playing regularly. Just like Tammy Abraham, giving Fikayo Tomori that chance was Lampard's choice. He could have played Andreas Christensen, who despite being injured in recent weeks has been available. He could have chosen him. I think people also forget that Christensen is another youth product of Chelsea. But once again, Frank Lampard saw the potential of Tomori at Derby last season and wanted to see what he could do in a Chelsea shirt. So once again, that's more proof that he wasn't forced to play a young player. But also, I can add strength to this argument by talking about some of the older, more experienced players that Lampard has got the best out of this year and has selected ahead of younger players. Look at a player like Willian. He has earned his place under Frank Lampard this season with some brilliant performances, leading performances, helping out other younger players, a work rate that is just exceptional for Willian. And as well, not only that, he is delivering, he is scoring important goals, scoring winners, creating key assists in game for Chelsea. All of those things mean he is earning his place, and he is usually keeping out either Christian Pulisic or Callum Hudson-ODOI. That is another decision where Frank Lampard could have picked a younger player over Willian. Look at a player like Jorginho, from a booed scapegoat to an appreciated leader. He is probably, arguably, Chelsea's most consistent performer so far this season. He is so integral to Chelsea's play. Another player many people thought after Sarri leaving wouldn't feature for Chelsea and may have even left the club, but no, Jorginho stayed, fought for his place and wanted to prove people wrong, which is what he's done. Lampard saw what Jorginho was capable of under Sarri, wanted to continue that good work in terms of possession, in terms of being the regista, the dictator, someone in the centre of the park that is the metronome for our play. And that's what Lampard has worked on and got the best out of Jorginho. Once again, I look at a player like maybe Billy Gilmour he could have used instead in that position. You look at a player like Cesar Azpilicueta. Reece James is basically breathing down his neck and looks like maybe he might pip him for that position. But Azpilicueta, like Willian, like Jorginho, has proved his usefulness. Marcos Alonso at points, and Mateo Kovacic has been outstanding as well. Over all this argument that Lampard was forced to play youngsters, I think is demeaning to not only Frank Lampard as a coach to be able to walk into Chelsea and in a short period of time not only embed his principles, philosophies, what he wants to get out of his team, but also continue the work that Sarri did last year in terms of possession-based team and work on that and improve on that with some of the players who worked well last year, but also integrate and get the best out of a bunch of young players playing for the first time in the Premier League. All of those things are incredible, really, in a short space of time. And I think he deserves more credit for it. And also, it's on the youngsters who play well, who are earning their place, who look, many of them, like they've been playing at Chelsea for a number of years rather than looking like rabbit in headlights. None of them have looked like that. They've looked absolutely key components of this Chelsea side. So that is my take on why Frank Lampard wasn't forced to play Chelsea's youngsters. Let me know your thoughts on the debate in the comments below. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Give it a like if you enjoyed it and want to see more Chelsea content. Subscribe and hit the notification bell to never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter @SonOfChelsea, and I'll see you again.